Okay, looks like we're live. Well, let's do our thing. And let me get over here. A little behind this morning. Apologize for that. A couple minutes. Um, but let's get over here and I do the thing check to make sure I'm actually up and on. So bear with me as we do this. I know a little short notice didn't publish very well. From last time. Let's get to the channel. There we are. From last time. Let's get to the channel. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Let's do that. There we are. Yeah. Okay. I will apologize. First, welcome to the channel. I am Thomas E. Davis, and this is The Ground Truth from TN4. And you do it this way. Again, thank you all for tuning in, taking the time. I will apologize for last week. And I had planned to make last week really the last one for a campaign and then see where we go. I opted instead to go out into the community and clean up all the doggone signage that we had put out. So and so we were out Friday running around picking up all the signs that we had put out and some of the other ones as we came across them. And then thank you to everybody who picked up signs and put them out for the campaign, and then who has gone back and recovered those signs that they put out. I appreciate all of that. I appreciate the belief in me as a candidate and the mission that we had at hand. Unfortunately, we did not get it across the finish line completely as winning that nomination, but it is what it is, and a lot of lessons learned from that. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for everybody, like I said, that participated in the campaign, did the signs, did the calls, went out and talked to folks, and let people know that there was a choice this time around in that congressional race. Between now and November, we support the party. We will, I will stay engaged. A lot of times, what we see happen, or I've seen happen, is guys will run one time and then be done. And I will not do that. I will still participate as best I can with the party here in Warren County. I do have a conflict, and it's been since the day one in meetings. That's the same night as my VFW meeting, but I can still catch about half an hour of the party meeting and then scoot over to my VFW meeting, which is what I'll continue to do, being engaged, because while there are some divisions, I think, and fractures within the party, it's something that we need to address and make those at higher up levels understand what's going on out here. And I did see some impact with our representative. So we have got to keep that pressure up and let them know what actually America first means. And they're not doing it. So, but in the meantime, the alternatives are, the Democratic Socialists of America are taking over very boldly now, the Democratic Party. And socialism is horrible. Communism is horrible. It all is. And then the internal fights that we have going on in this nation. We have been invaded. Make no mistake about it. We have been invaded on a lot of different fronts, and we have allowed it to happen by we the people, in electing these people that don't see it and refuse to take action on it. And specifically Islam, we've been invaded, and we have got to repel these invaders. And how we do it is important, and how we frame it. And how we do it is that we send them back. All these refugees, send them back to from wherever they're from. That hate it for you, but you ain't got to go home, but you got to get out of here. No, you do got to go home. I think it's an obligation that we send them back to where they're from, or whatever. If another country will take them, that's what we do. But at a minimum, back to where they're from. And then we quit accepting the refugees. Stop immediately, if not sooner. And those are the calls that we need to be making. on our representatives. We need to secure our elections, the SAVE Act, these clowns up there in the Senate. And then they start doing kind of weird stuff. No, get it done. Get the job done. The excuses we get are just atrocious, and we need to hold them to the fire. And so that, and then additionally, all these visas, these work visas, stop. Just dang, stop it. This nonsense about they're just doing jobs that Americans don't want to do is just that nonsense. And so that's what we need to do. And like I said, for me, I will stay engaged. I am exploring a couple different options. I've been approached for some other things to serve in some other capacities. I mentioned this, I think, on the posting over on the Facebook last week, I guess it was, kind of leading into this. So you got to stay in the fight. I mean, I obviously was the first loser in this race. So, but that doesn't mean I quit fighting. So, and neither should you. I've heard a lot of that. I've heard some of that talk, in particular on 99.7, and I called in and kind of followed it up. Is you have to stay engaged, and the whole like I'm going to vote for a Democrat. That's and the parallel to that is voting Democrat is like going full retard, and you never go full retard. That's just it's a horrible idea. That party is being overtaken by some people that do not have this country's best interests in mind. And we like, again, we have some discussions to be had within the Republican Party about where our representatives are getting money from, and do they really have we the people's best interests in mind. And by dipping out or voting Democrat does not fix that. It does not. It takes us towards the communism, the socialism. In fact, I'm planning. I think it's the 19th. Colton Maccabee, our J6er, is having an event that I'm planning to go to, and that's one of the fights is to keep the communists out. Because right now, understand, our communists and our communist socialists, whatever you want to cut from the same cloth, but those and the Islamists have joined up and are fighting to take over the country, and then they will fight over the scraps of that. And you look in history, it's been the Islamists that have won that when they've paired up like that. So we must be vigilant. We must stay in the fight, and that's my push now, is to help with some of this awareness. Like I said, again, some of the other things that we're doing here, and positions that I've been kind of approached to run for. So we'll see how that shakes out and where I'm called into to go. So right now, like I said, I definitely support the party through this, through the general, because the alternative is no bueno. And we do, and I will say, and some things I've said is to be open-minded about some things, have the discussions, and I did through this talk with those on the other side, the Democrats running, interacted with them, had discussions, and there is some common ground there. There actually is, whether these ultra MAGA folks want to realize it or not, whether some of our older Republicans want to realize it or not. There is some common ground, and we the people out here in the wild share more in common than what our media is allowing us. And it follow the money. It's all for fundraising. I truly don't believe that a lot of this, either knowing or they're just useful idiots, want to solve problems. They want the conflict. They want to be able to raise money on it. And at the end of the day, it's we the people that are losers in all this. So we need to stay engaged and stay aware of what's going on and talk to people. I mean, I'll listen to you, and I'll say, so one of the things that there is, at least with anecdotally, the folks I talked to, is about the marijuana use. And I'm not advocating like, hey, let's all go get high, but there are folks out there that receive some benefit from the marijuana use, and I think it needs to be decriminalized. Some of those controls or regulations, and taxed appropriately. The In a lot of cases, you'll see that it's so heavily taxed. They're trying to stifle the industry, and even here in Tennessee, the it's just absolutely ridiculous. We're putting the push to on the and it's coming up. The hemp, the CBD products are going to be to a point where folks can't get access to this stuff, and they'll get access. Don't You guys are stuck on anybody that thinks this regulation is going to prevent folks from doing it. You're stuck on stupid, and we'll continue to have folks going to places, other states to secure these products to help them. And absolutely insane that we think that that's what we're going to do. And especially in a lot of this stuff we talk about the medical, as I kind of move, I think maybe into we may have some additional common ground, and some things to discuss about. But for veterans in particular, and not just veterans, but some of these what we're deeming alternative methods, the ayahuasca, I think it is, or some of these other things. And it's controlled. It's a medical thing. It's not just dudes out running around, getting buck wild, getting high on this stuff. It's a legitimate. There's enough information. There's enough studies on it now that we can safely say like this is a legitimate practice and it's helping folks. So why are we criminalizing it? Why are we? It's absolutely insane the amount of government we have going on. And this is another one. Again, put some guardrails in place, and here's a revenue stream that you're missing out on. And again, reasonable. We're not trying to tax it into oblivion to where people can't do it. That's absolutely ridiculous. So, but we got to stay engaged, and keep feet to fire. Through the campaign, I did see our representative adjust. I did see him defend positions, and that's how we do it. Is we continue to make the calls, and as organizations that we're part of, me in particular, the VFW and the function I've served there, to continue at really, and I'll continue to do this. Go to some of these other posts and ask that they write letters or make the calls as individual posts. Hey, come see us. This is absolutely ridiculous that these guys get into a position where they're like, yeah, I don't need to. I can. And how do we raise awareness? I mean, obviously he can. I really felt, and I saw this time seemed like a lot less campaigning out in the district. There's a lot of controlled, invite only events, and he did have to come to Warren County to counter some of that stuff, and we allow it. And so that's on those of us that, incumbent upon those of us that are involved to continue trying to push back on these guys. And I'll call it, hard to say outright lie in his involvement. And this is, and I'm referencing the 4th Congressional Representative, Scott Desjardins, talking about his level of fight in keeping our VA clinic open. Afterwards, maybe so, and that's what I was at a district meeting last night for the VFW, asking for us veterans to stay involved, keep making the calls. What are you doing? Because currently his plan is that, because the VA is supposed to take over the McMinnville clinic, at least through the end of the year. And they're slow rolling that, in my estimation. But either aside of that, our congressional rep, his plan of this is, once the government starts doing stuff, they just kind of keep doing it, which is a horrible plan. It's not leadership. It's just complacency. And I will tell you that I think he would have been more than happy to just watch this clinic close in May. And but it grew into a big thing politically, a grassroots effort between some local podcasters, live streamers, the our local elected officials, and veterans. So yeah, we've got to stay after it and do the things, and that's how we move forward. Now for me in this channel, I'm debating. I think we will keep this channel going. I'm not going to do it every week as I lean into some other things, and but we will do, I think, every other week. And I'm looking right now. I'll put it out on here, and we'll update the description of the channel and everything we do. It'll be fairly similar to what I've been doing. But I like I said, right now as a candidate, I am stepping back and out of things, and we'll support the party through it. But probably the first and the third Friday of each month it will be my live cycle. I'll probably put up some other videos. The intent really was a live stream, and then had I won, we would continue that live stream, and that was even going into that the frequency of it was going to drop off just because the focus has changed as the nominee and then the representative. Your focus is kind of some other ways, but the focus of the channel then would have been to keep us updated. So we'll continue to do some of that, and like I said, at least initially here as we press in, we will go the first and the third Friday of each month. We'll keep the same time. I like it. It seems to work out, and keep that. And hey, drop a comment there. Say hey, who I got watching. And I appreciate you tuning in, and anybody that watches this at any point, thank you for doing that. And yeah, and I think even this one, I'll heads up, I'm probably not going to. We'll go about 30 minutes. I do have some other things to go take care of this morning, and like I said, as I kind of clean up, wind down the campaign, there's still some stuff going on for that. And then with that too, I would encourage you, look into what it takes, what the requirements are, and it varies state to state. But here in Tennessee, take a look at what what is required to run for Congress, because it's more than just the Constitution. Constitutionally, and that has been my answer. What qualifies you? The Constitution qualifies me to run, but there are some additional things you have to do to run as a Republican and or a Democrat. There's slight differences within the parties, but there are some things you have to do. Part of it's a petition that you have to pull, and there's a window for pulling that petition, getting your signatures, turning it back in. They verify it. As a Republican, and this is across the board. If you're running as a Republican, you got to pay to play. They call it a donation, but if you don't make that donation, your name will not be on the ballot. So. And it varies. I think it starts as a county commissioner. I think it's like $50, and then just as the higher you go, the more that fee becomes. And to run for the Senate, the contribution or the donation is $5,000, I believe. I know for the U.S. House, it was $2,500 to have my name on the ticket as a Republican. But look into that. There's and you have to be bona fide as a Republican. The requirements, but look into that. To what it actually takes. And I think that'll provide a little bit of insight to how some things are. So, and I'm not saying, we all have lives to live. If this isn't your passion, at least have the kind of that working knowledge, be a part of the party, and be engaged. I know at least here in Warren County, and that'll be something I do a little bit more of is locally, actually attend some of the meetings. Warren First 931, they broadcast some of these commission meetings live. And I've said all politics are local, and I truly believe that. But the kind of the difference is your local politics can impact you more quickly than some national stuff. So attend those meetings, or if you can't attend, like I said, find out where they're broadcast. And typically they'll, in some places be recorded. And so you can view them at your leisure and be informed. Because if you're just showing up to that big commission meeting, you've missed the boat, really. And talk to your commissioners ahead of these things. Something a cause I am going to take up in my own county, in Warren County, is these flock cameras. These flock cameras are absolutely horrible. And I know our sheriff, Sheriff Matheny, is on board with them. And I've had a brief discussion with him about that. And I did vote for Sheriff Matheny, but I'm gonna fight him tooth and nail on these flock cameras. They're a horrible idea, and I am not a fan. But through our commission, I will fight to defund these things, and then and work with, continue to talk with him, and show him the abuse of these cameras that's going on across the nation. And and so far I haven't seen a study where they actually lower crime. I do understand they can help with the solving of the crimes, but not at the cost of liberty. That's just, to me, is not a good trade-off. So that'll be something that a cause I take up here in the county, and we'll see how it works out. But that's the things we do: stay involved. So, and yeah, like I said, for this one, I'll bump my gums for another few minutes here, I think, and then we'll call it good. So I've got a truck in the shop that I need to go get taken care of. So with that, like I said, just be on the lookout. I think I will. I'll put this out on my Facebook page, as I'll put that down, that either kind of discontinue the Tom Davis for Congress, and spin up a Facebook Tom Davis TN4, and kind of get my branding lined up, and then that lends itself to some other things I can do. And like I said, as far as staying engaged and lending my voice to the cause, for what it's worth, and having learned some of these lessons, and we apply them. So I think that pretty much covers, I think, what I was looking to hit today. Like I said, I really do. I just, everybody that contributed of your time, of your finances, even that, liking and sharing and commenting, and even the haters. I really thought that was kind of my mark of having made it, was having some haters jump on, especially those that type in all caps, like yelling at, is going to win the argument. It helps with with Al Gore's rhythm. But outside of that, and again, it comes to, if you want to have discussions, let's have discussions. But to think that whoever screams the loudest wins the argument, that's absolutely insane. So for sometimes, for entertainment value, I'll engage, but by and large, it's not productive. So we're not going to do it, even moving forward. So, but that I didn't block any comments. Very open about what I'm doing. Did receive a few questions. I did answer them along the way in the live streams. But like I said, it's to try and type that stuff out, over Facebook and yada yada is kind of a fool's errand, in my opinion. So there we go. Like I said, I do, just thank everybody. It very, very humbling experience to be given the floor, and people pay attention to you and listen to what you have to say, and then jump on board with the cause, because there is a need out there. And I won't predict it, but I'm here to tell you, one of the most frustrating things was to hear Republicans at some higher levels talk about being fiscally conservative, and we're spending $1.8 trillion in the deficit every year. That dog don't hunt. You can't tell me you're fiscally conservative if you're on board with that and you're voting for that, and you're pushing this agenda that's what we're going to do. You will not convince me that you're a fiscal conservative, and I think it's very disingenuous to be saying that. So my opinion, I'm entitled to it. I believe I'm right, but yeah. So that's like I said, some stuff, and a little bit of a yeah. I've got to look at it. I had nothing really scripted or mapped out for this week to talk about. Really, this has been it. Just kind of the way ahead and how we're going to do it. And yeah, see how it shakes out. But we the citizens have got to push back on this stuff. And you've got to show up and vote. I mean, without a doubt. And when you go into that booth, if you don't know about a candidate, you don't necessarily have to make a choice. Like, I don't know, I've never heard of these guys. Then don't put anything down. Yeah. So, but the other side of that is be informed. And especially Tennessee, I think in this next cycle, we've got some amendments to the Tennessee Constitution coming up, and one of them I think is we're trying to align all the elections to August and November, which I think is a solid plan. That currently is a little confusing to a lot of folks if you're not really dialed in on some things. And even this time around, there was some confusion about it. So, like I said, just allocate some time into your schedule each week to be plugged in. And it's some of this stuff is really frustrating to hear all the time, and some of it we can't necessarily impact immediately. Like this stinking war in Iran, we can't necessarily do something about this right now. So, just some modern engagement to know what's going on. So there is that. And with that, I think we will tap out on this one early. And like I said, just be on the lookout. We'll continue to go ahead. Like I said, I am exploring some things. I've been approached about some things. So, I'm going to reconsolidate, reorganize, take it to the Lord in prayer and see where we go, where I'm called, where I'm led, whatever the case may be. And that's where the efforts will go. So, oh yeah. And I see I'm also, oh no, that's you do have Warren First 931, I think, coming up. And then Cannon First 615, if you're in that area. Again, stay on top of local. That's kind of the way ahead that we're seeing is some more local mediums and some local live streamers and stuff going on. So that's a good place to go for some news. But so there we go. With that, I will leave you to your day and whatever it is. Wish you the best out there, and hopefully we'll continue on doing some things and being involved and making a difference in the Republic. So yeah, look for, I think next week will be the third week of the month, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it will be. So I think we'll look to pick that up. I'll look at the calendar real quick here. What we have going. Let me get to August. Oh yeah, no. Let's we'll take the break and pick it back up on. Is that going to work? Yep, that'll be solid. So let's take the little bit of a break, the pause, and we will look at the 4th of September to be back, and that'll it is a rebranded channel doing some things. So just be on the lookout for that. We'll see. So, but either way, until the next one, this will defend.